Hello, everyone. Welcome to Prowess Live. I'm so glad that you're joining us here today. We're going to have a great discussion on striving for success in our businesses, but also finding balance and diving into why building that support group is so important for all OBMs as whatever stage of your business that you're in. For all of you that are new here, I'm Leah Steinkirk. I am OBM turned COO here at Prowess Project. I came on board to help Ashley with this vision that she had. We help train, coach women that are pivoting in their careers to becoming online business managers. And as they grow in their careers, we're helping match them up with their dream clients. And for all of you that are back this week, welcome back. We're glad to have you here. And to get things off, let's throw into chat. What are you currently doing to find that support as you build your business or get started? This could be a person, this could be a community, a coach, a mentor, your favorite podcast, a book. But let's talk about where are we finding that current support. And I'm super excited to welcome our guest today, who is also going to highlight this and share why this is so important as you're building your business. So I want to welcome Natalie Fairchild, Chief Inspirational Officer and CEO of Pacific Perks Coffee. Welcome, Natalie. I think you have my
Thank you.
favorite title that I've ever heard.
I'm not about titles. And so it had to be something with a little fun twist and I could get behind. And the chief inspirational officer was definitely one because I feel like I've mentored people all my life. I love to inspire people to be their best self. So it just worked. But thank you.
I love it. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And I would love to help you, I would love for you to introduce yourselves and tell us how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So Natalie Fairchild with Pacific Perks Coffee. Our business has been a business for over 17 years. And we got started because life happened to us. I'm born and raised in the Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Washington area, living in Colorado at the time. I had left the corporate world and wanted to be a mom, wanted to so badly be a mom. And I had my two girls. And I love being a mom. I still love being a mom now that they're 23 and 24. But I quickly realized that I needed business as well, that I needed both and that was okay. So I knew I was an entrepreneur because I was starting businesses and doing a little things here and there. And then my husband at the time has MS and he had MS 2 years after we got married, and it kind of started taking a toll. And we were, as people in their 30s were climbing that corporate ladder, I felt like our hands were just slipping down it. We didn't know what we were doing. How are we going to do this? We're just starting a family, all this stuff. And so that's how Pacific Perks came to be, where we decided we needed to work together on a business and own our time and our flexibility. And he could take a nap in the afternoon and we could still thrive as a family. So that's how Pacific Perks started over 17 years ago.
Wow. Well, congratulations on the 17
Thank
and
you.
also on moving through all of that. I mean, that is life did throw a lot at you at that point.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It was a lot. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're so courageous for stepping into your own career." And really, when you're forced to do something and you're at a crossroads and something has got to change, it's a little less courageous, but still risky for sure. So I really admire the people that are like, yeah, I'm going from my career to doing something completely opposite. And I'm going to hope that that bridge appears as I take a step. So, but lots of challenges, lots of excitement. We were doing something together. We had time for the family. We could still balance that out because that was so important to me. I was a person that I didn't want them going to daycare. Not that it's a bad thing. I just wanted to spend as much time as I could with them, and how you do that and how you balance yourself. And as things progressed for Jim, I got the advice that it was like, you need to look at this as your business, and Jim can help out whenever he can. And that was another really challenging point for me because I was like, no, it's not supposed to be like this. And you have to mourn that. And then
Mhm.
you go through the emotions and you accept it. And once I accepted it, and this is how I am with most things, then I'm like, okay, what's the game plan? Let's go. And when I did that, I realized, gosh, I feel like I'm right where I need to be. Like this feels right in this leadership mentorship position. And so that was kind of the blessing in that for sure.
I One thing that you're saying, like, that comes to mind is because when I was similar. I left corporate. I had a hard time with the I wanted to be a mom. But I couldn't stop doing the other things. We always
Yeah.
joke here at Prowess that I have, like, this patchwork quilt career, like, behind me because it was all these different things, and I couldn't stop starting things after I had my kids, right? They were 2 and 4, and I was dragging them to
Exactly.
entrepreneur groups for moms and that sort of stuff. How did you find your what next? I'm super curious how,
Yeah.
Pacific Perks came to be as the thing that
Yeah.
you moved into.
Yeah. So I'm all about like keeping it open, staying curious. And we had some friends in Colorado who had a similar business, and I ran into them on Valentine's Day, I think in '07. And I said, Chris, we're moving. And he said, what are you doing? He was buying a, a Valentine's card for his wife at the middle of the day. And I said, I don't know, but we need to work less. We need to make more money. And we've got to get Jim out of the corporate world. And he said, you need to do what we're doing. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. So I brought that home to Jim and I was like, I don't know what he's going to say. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we trained with them and then brought it back to the Pacific Northwest and made it our own and grew from there. And the interesting thing about how they did things in Colorado and how we had to do things here was that we had a debilitating illness that we had to manage. So, what that did for us is that made us have to pull people in for support. We were not two able bodied people doing everything. And they were. And I used to look at them, Leah, and go, oh man, if we were just both healthy, like where we could be and how fast we could go and da 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 da. And it turns out that they ended up shutting down their business. And I was referring business to them. And I said, what happened? And he said, we got burnt out. So that it was also a silver lining of having the MS because they always say you need to work on your business, not in your business. And that forced us to in a lot of ways because we had to get support to have other people work in the business while we were working on the business. And that kept us from managing the burnout and balancing things to where it kept it doable for us and we could continue into 17 plus years, which I laugh every time I say that because I'm like, really?
That's fantastic. Is there any part of that I feel like I'm taking advantage of all of your wisdom because you did have to
Yes.
go through all of that, but is there anything that you would pass on where you're sitting now to say, this is the way to bring that to life, to working on your business, to putting in that balance so you're not getting burned out?
Yeah, I think there is a headspace when we start a business. A lot of business owners tend to say yes to everything, right? Because we want to get going, we want business. And that's okay to a certain point, but be self aware of it because you'll quickly realize, okay, that is not what I want to be doing, or that's the client I don't want to be working with, or my expertise and the work that feels so seamless to me is in this area and not that area. And really realizing that and being self aware and then start to zone in on that, because is part of your recipe and part of your success and joy in what you're doing, is doing the things that you really like. And the things that you don't enjoy, you're probably not as good at, hand those things off. And for me, that's bookkeeping. Things with numbers, like obviously numbers are very important in a business, but for me, I have a person, part of my team, that is really good in that. And that brings value to me, to have that person on my team, because and I'm totally fine, and I think it's really important for people. I think women are better at this, but to really put your ego aside and not feel like you need to know everything. You don't need to know everything exceptionally well. You need to know what you're good at and not so good at, and pull in those people that are good at those things.
That is such an amazing point you're making. Was that a natural thing, or I how did you learn to do that so gracefully?
Well, Leah, a lot of working, or a lot of accounting bills, when we realized, okay, we are trying to do this to the best of our ability, but our best of our ability is not working, and it's costing us more money. So trial and error for sure. I think sometimes as entrepreneurs or business owners, we tend to push and think we can do things. And I think it's okay to do that and test those boundaries, but to keep self-aware and know when it's time to wrap that one up and move on to something else. And so for us in that, it was like, okay, we're not doing a good job. This is not coming easy, or we're putting this task off. And we can't be putting this task off, and it's because we hate this task or are not good at it. Those are great signs that it's time to pull somebody in for that specialty.
Oh, yes, yes. The procrastination, I can identify with that one. There's just things that I'm like, and then you have to take a step back and realize, well, it's because it's not either your zone of genius or just your comfort level, and that's absolutely okay.
Exactly. And that is okay. Yeah. And I think the most successful people are the ones that know that and don't get
Mhm.
caught up in that,
Yes,
for
yes.
sure.
And going back since something you said earlier about stepping into that CEO or taking more of that leadership role that you needed to take in your business because of
Yeah.
where Jim was, what how did that happen? And was that something again, like was it just something you learned over time, or did you have people come in and kind of help you guide you into getting more into that leadership role?
That was a gift that I have. When you look back in your career, starting back in high school, I was not I was okay at athletics. I was okay at singing in choir. I was okay at everything. And I really didn't put a lot of emphasis, like, hey, you're really good at this. But I was great at leadership. I was on the student body. I put on the whole homecoming week, from the design of the invitations with the art team to the decorations to the photo backdrop to the lights to the bonfire. I can't even imagine we had those days, but we did, to all of that. And you look back and you go, oh my gosh, holy cow. And then I was in college in a sorority and was rush chairman and social chairman, and then you have kids and you're involved in the classroom and the PTO, and you're putting on. So that's just me. And so that one was really natural for me and easy for me to get in. I just had to accept and get comfortable that I can do this on my own with an amazing team. But
Mhm.
I've been meant to do this. And that was really, like I said, the real silver lining was that it kind of put me into that position where I'm like, oh, yeah, this is great. This is comfortable. I can do this. And then it was absolutely evolving. And I'm always a person that you're constantly learning. I love to learn from other people. I gain insight. I go to conferences. You take little tidbits here and there from podcasts, books, and you go, okay, yes, I want to incorporate that into my leadership. and then you incorporate it. One thing that I love incorporating that I got from Kate Byers from the Good Life Institute is in the beginning of my meetings, with my ops team, we start with gratitudes and celebrations. And so what you're doing is you get to see your team light up and really quickly say, what's going on in their life that they're excited about, grateful for. And it's great because you get to connect with them. You start the meeting off with great energy because there's always something to be grateful for. And so that's just a little example of something that I've learned from others that I've incorporated into my leadership.
I think that is so important to get almost to get that energy up. And even if we are solopreneurs, right? If that's our business, to do it for
Yeah.
ourselves, just start off the day, start off the week with what are our wins, right?
What are your
Um,
wins and what is going well? Because that part of it, even past the gratitude, because the gratitude's really important. We've all heard that a zillion times. And I think you need to do that and ask yourself what's going well. And that part reprograms your brain every day to go, things are going well. Because we have that asshole in our head that will tell us otherwise, right? So we've
Absolutely.
got to continually, whether you're writing it down before you open your eyes, sometimes before I open my eyes, but I'm awake, I'll just kind of go through all the things that are going well in life, because if
I
you
love
find them,
that.
they're there.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, and it's so important, right, to pause and do it because we can stay super busy in our businesses. Like we can just keep going.
Yeah.
Are there any other tips that you would give people when it is coming to either these practices for themselves or just pulling in more people that are this, you know,
Yeah.
positive influences?
Yeah. A couple different things. So, personally, I think it's good for everyone to remember that there's pretty much 7 universal needs that you have. And this also comes from the Good Life Institute: health, security, esteem, autonomy, connection, purpose, and leisure. And for those 7 universal leads, there's usually 2 or 3 that really stand out for you. Like for me, connection, leisure, and sometimes it'll go between security or autonomy, are super important to me. So those 2 or 3 things, you need to fill all the buckets, but the 2 or 3 things you need to fill daily and weekly and monthly. And if we do that, then we're really creating a space of flow because we're filled up. If we're filled up, then we can do a better job, in our positions, in our families, with our friends, etc. But if we get those 2 depleted and give everything to everyone else, then we're just setting ourselves up for not such a great situation. And so I think
Ah,
that those are really, really important. And another thing I would say personally is, for the last maybe 12 years, I've realized this, but it took me a long time. Know your recipe. And what I mean about that is, are you a morning person? Are you a night person? Do you thrive 40 hours a week? Do you thrive 50 hours a week? Um, what is your communication style? What do you need? Things like that. I would just say I'm a type A extrovert. But really, then I'd have these other times where I just needed so much downtime, and I'd beat myself up for needing that downtime, because we get a badge of courage for the go 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 personality. And so I finally, hearing it in different ways and finally sick of beating myself up for it, I was like, okay, I need the downtime so I can have the productive time. And I just know for me, I'm really good in the morning, and at about 3:30, I just start going down, and that's kind of when I wrap up my day or change it up or do something different. So
do you
accepting that. Yeah.
oh, no, I just wanna I feel like you're giving all of these, like, I don't even know how to say it. You're sharing all these things that can kinda seem like, "Oh, yeah, I know I need to do that," but, like, I feel like you're giving permission to really put these into your business plan and how you structure your business. It's not just with a book that or the podcast you listen to on Sunday mornings, it's really putting it into your flow. Love that.
Yes, because what happens to you personally go straight into your business. We'd like to kind of keep them separate, but let me tell you, through life's challenges and different things and ups and downs we go through, it affects your business. And so we've got, they are one in the same. And so you have to start there and know your recipe. And if you don't work good in the morning, don't start your day till 10. If you own your own business and you're an OBM, you just do what works for you. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's still hard. I still have to talk to myself sometimes and be like, no, you're fine. And it tends to work out because then I fill myself back up and then I'm ready to go. So that's what I would say on the personal side. On the business side, we talked about how important it is to know where your weaknesses are and pull a team or specialty into that. And also delegating is really, really important. And that's working on your business instead of in your business. You want to be able to step in at any moment into your business and do the work yourself. But if you're in a position where other people can also be doing the work, you want to get those people empowered and trained to do that work so that you are, if you're removed from it and working on the bigger vision, the business still continues and does a great job. And so you can really build your business a lot if you're working, on your business. Now, in your situation, with the position, that may look like, a percentage of the time you're working on the business and a percentage of the time you're working in the business. But working on the business might include marketing or connections or one-on-ones or getting on podcasts or whatever to keep that ball rolling, to keep that pipeline full so that then you can go do the work one-on-one.
Absolutely. I think for a lot of our OBMs, we talk about doing the getting out there and doing, whether it's an info interview or just checking in with other business owners or what problems you might be solving in their business. And that's what I'm
Absolutely.
hearing you say, is taking the time to go out and do those, have that cup of coffee or jump on that Zoom call with someone else and taking the time to do that, because that's what's going to help your business continue to grow.
100%. And they are the specialty in that area. So if they can give like a little free tidbit, some
Mhm.
advice or a little perception shift to a potential client, and just give that away, that is huge. You're not giving a ton away, but you're showing your credibility and the expertise you have. And then that connection starts to be is established and builds, and then hopefully becomes a client one day. And if it doesn't, you've touched somebody.
Or they're going to be the one that passes on that wisdom, or referrals, testimonials, all of that stuff. It's
All
it's
of that.
laying those seeds. Do you have
Yeah.
any other advice when it comes to, because I'm curious with your business, like as you moved to a new location, right, to start a
Yes.
business, so
Yeah.
there had to be some certain amount of networking, right, and that
Yeah.
support system that way.
Yeah.
How did you grow that?
So, I grew up in this area. So when we moved back, I said that my mom was director of marketing. She was working in a doctor's office. Everyone loves my mother, and she would talk to the pharmaceutical reps about and schedule them to come in, and they'd bring lunch or whatever. And that's was a niche market for us back in '07, '09 area. And so bless her heart, she would a farmer rep would come in. She'd say, "Hey, do you have a minute?" And she'd go down the hall and she'd say, "My daughter and son-in-law are doing this business. Is that something you might be interested in?" And of course, they loved her, so they're like, "Yeah." So we did have a nice warm stack of cards from her, but we had to call those cards and we had to network with them and connect with them and make that connection and follow up and do what we said we were going to do. And then that started a lot of business. And then reaching out to your network, hey, this is what I'm doing, which people that know and love you and trust you, they want to see you succeed. So that, that helps. There's so many people. And then one thing I say, Leah, in the beginning is do a couple free events. Do some stuff where for you guys aren't events necessarily, but in our business it is. But do a couple things, do some speaking, do a free analysis on someone. Whenever, in the very beginning when we got, we'd have a little slow moment, we'd start to kind of like get anxious about it. That's advice we got from coaches was go do a free event. And it's amazing how just getting in a different mind space and giving, how it comes back.
That's such a great point.
Yeah.
And again, going back to that, bringing in that positivity, right? Like, I mean, I'm a big believer in like raising that vibration of everything, and
Yes,
that can do it when you give. It's the serving part of us, and a lot of OBMs. That's why they get into this because they like helping businesses, so that business can go be more successful. So, and
exactly.
I'm laughing in my head over here because that's part of that patchwork quilt. There was a pharmaceutical sales script. So the power of getting the mom to say, "Hey, guess what my daughter's doing?" Right? But it's like we need to, as OBMs, we need to let people know they can help us. So I love that you let your mom help you get started.
Yeah, and with having MS in our world, someone told me once, don't negate giving someone the opportunity to help because it gives them so much in helping you. And sometimes we don't want people to help us, or we feel bad about it, or we feel guilty. And give people the opportunity because you know how it feels, Leah, when we're able to connect somebody with somebody else and it's a great connection
Mhm.
and there's amazing things coming out of that connection. Like I've been called the dot connector. Like I love that because we don't know everybody, but somebody knows somebody who knows somebody. And that brings me a ton of joy. So, let people have that opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it's such a great message for our audience because as OBMs, I feel like we naturally start doing it for someone else. I always talk about when I first got started, it was because the mom that sat next to me at the play group, she had an idea about her business. And I was like, well, have you tried this website platform? And if you want to get into e-commerce, maybe look at this. And that was
Exactly.
my way of helping someone. And if they would have asked, can you pass this on? I'd be more than happy to. And I think with women especially, we like to share that.
We do. We do. And there's so many amazing women doing amazing things. It blows my mind. I'm part of the Dames group, which was founded in Denver. And I think that's how I know Ashley. And there's just so many amazing women. And I'm just blown away. And it's so supportive. I mean, whether you're crying in tears because that's okay too, or, rallying a success that you've had, or, a new book coming out and people are rallying around you, it's just, and there's a lot of great support for women out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, do you want to share about your new podcast coming up?
Yes. So we're launching it next Wednesday, March 26th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And the podcast is with a great friend, Mindy Vale. She worked for Papa Murphy's corporate office in HR and has since written a book and does leadership training. And we have a really good banter with the two of us. And when we get together, we're constantly laughing. And we tend to both talk about the things that maybe people are thinking but don't necessarily say. So it's really, really great to be able to have us come together, and we're going to do it on the couch. So we'll be in the same room together, hanging out, talking about all things women. And so it's called Together Too. And so if you look at the word together, HER is at the end. So we put that in parentheses. And then we put it to the second power. So it's to get her to laugh, to get her to be bold, be vulnerable. And it'll be all topics around women and empowering and being the badass woman that you know you are, and just supporting each other, whether it's, with moms with small children in career, balancing both relationships, sexuality, all of it. We'll be talking about it.
Oh, I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I'm absolutely going to have to tune into that.
Yeah,
I think
thank you. It'll be fun.
it's so important
Yeah.
to talk about all this.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share, especially around people that might be doing all the things and heading towards that burnout, that to help them like bring in that balance?
Yeah. So, really, if you feel like you might be getting burnt out, a lot of times the feelings are a feeling of overwhelm, anxiousness. That's a really good sign. So, our body tells us what's going on, right? So, take a minute to stop and go, okay, what's going on? And you may need to reprioritize things, or you may need to look at what you're doing and what's important that you're doing and what's not important and what gives you joy and what doesn't give you joy and where you need the help. Sometimes when we have children and we're doing a business, we're just pulled at both ends. And being a mom is an amazing and very challenging position at the same time because you're the mom. You're always wanted. So pulling in your spouse, your partner, your family, your friends. I was in Colorado and I didn't have family there, but 2 doors down, I had a great friend and we definitely helped each other out. We do things like put the kids in one minivan and then we drive around together and do errands. So no kids had to leave the minivan. So we just hop out, take something back, grab in, and then she'd go do it. And it was like fabulous. So use your tribe because you don't have to do it alone and figure out what your recipe is. Again, it may not be in the morning. You might work better at 9 p.m. at night and try a few things out. I like to call them science experiments. See what works, try it out for a week or so and see what works, and also make sure that you're fulfilling those 7 universal human needs and which ones are most important to you. And if you start putting those in even 10 minutes a day, that will make a difference in your overall feeling of life and things will flow a little bit better. But it's everyone's so individual. It's such a complex situation for each person and what makes them tick and what makes them not tick. And so you have to really do some self-awareness and really look at things.
Absolutely. And with 17 years in the business, I would think that there's been like phases of that, right? Where you started and stopped things and you let go of things.
Oh, constantly. Constantly. And you'll know when it's time because you'll start getting irritated with it. Or I remember I was in a networking group that met every week and I had been in it for like 6, 7 years and it was great. And I still do business with those people in that group and it served its purpose. But I said to myself, okay, I either need to get out or I need to run this thing. And I'm like, I'm not going to run it. I don't want that position. So it's time for me to move on to other things. Yeah, your position will totally evolved. And I've done networking on a real local level. And then I have somebody else doing that. And I'll touch in once in a while, but I go to a different level of networking. You'll feel when it's time to move on to different things. Yeah.
Yes, and I think listening to that is just so important because again, we can get real busy and all the shoulds and keep going, but pausing. We have a
Yes.
question here, and that
Yeah.
is where might someone be able to learn more about those 7 universal human needs?
Yes. So the Good Life Institute, I think .com or .org, Kate Byers, Byars. She has them in her program. I don't know if she's got them listed or not, but I could definitely try and share something with you, Leah, and you could share with them a little
Absolutely, we
bit.
can add it to the notes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So yeah, we can grab that and I will put it in the show notes and pass that on to everyone that's been here live. We can put it in the recording links.
Yeah,
Um,
we can definitely at least list these out and know that 2 to 3 of them are going to really resonate with you. Like connection is my number one thing. Like sending a random text to people just saying thinking about you, that like fills me up and is something I need to take time for. Writing a card to somebody fills me up. So that's an idea of one of those universal needs that really helps me and something that I need to have part of my day.
And are these things that you work with your team on, even like helping them recognize it?
Yeah, for sure. We do talk about it a lot. And we've created a culture of empathy, support, bringing your vulnerability, bringing your ideas, and what your needs are. So I just had an employee, she got back from a Vegas trip. She's like, I'm starting to feel sick. She's got blisters all over her feet. I'm like, girl, Zoya's busy today, but let me know what Carla and I might be able to take on for you. You need to take care of yourself, you first. So, kind of creating that environment where people know that they don't have to fake it during work. They can just raise their hand and go, I need to take a break. And I do it myself many times. Early in the business, after Jim was out of the business, it was Tristan and I, who is my right hand man, left hand brain. I say, he's my cousin actually, and there were times and hard times that I go through, and I just say, Tristan, I don't have it. I do not have it today. I've got to check out. And he was so wonderful. He's just like, do what you need to do. I got you. And so we have that whole feeling throughout the company. In fact, our perkologists, they're called perkologists, they're the ones who do the events at the client site. They're employees, but they put their availability into our system, and our system invites them to events based on their availability. So they can just block themselves out. Even though they're employees, they block themselves out when they're going to be on vacation. They want to be on their kids' field trip or sports or girlfriend's trip or whatever it is. They just block themselves out. So it creates an environment where it's okay to say, hey, I need to take this time.
You're making my brain it's on fire right now. Because I think one on the OBM side of it, I'm like having that part of your systems is magical, right? Because you are saying like we're building our systems around this core value that we have that people should have this balance in their lives. Because my I kept thinking like, well, how do you keep that in your business? It's right because one thing to have on paper to say this is our mission and values, but how do
There's
you do
challenges.
it?
There's challenges for sure. So I need a bigger group of people to cover those events that we have because not everyone's available all the time. So there are challenges. And one time, Leah, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, we were having a problem with getting enough people scheduled, and that miracle, magical number of having, enough people, but giving them enough work in the event business. And I was like, do we need to start giving people schedules? And Tristan looked at me and he's like, nope, that's not part of our core values, and we're not doing that. I said, you're right. We're not doing it. So there is it perfect all the time? No. For us, it's like we need to have your availability updated all the time. And we are constantly trying to have that magic number where people get enough events. So we're looking for people that maybe they're not the breadwinner. But they want to get out. They want to make some money. They want to have purpose. They want to have fun. And so they're like, I can do one event a week or I can do five. Like that's the perfect person for us. I've got some flight attendants who have gaps of time, veterans that have retired early that have time, college students, that kind of thing. But what happens is there's such a loyalty because they love their job and they love the culture and they love the feeling that we're like, okay, we need all hands on deck the first week in May. It's Teacher Appreciation Week. We have that. We have that. It's a give and take.
That's such a great example though of like when you do put it down, like this is how we're gonna run this, it it does work out, right? Like you're saying that loyalty then develops or
Yeah.
and that it's okay to say this is the way my business is gonna be different, but I'm gonna do it this way.
Yeah. We've kind of like had the gig economy schedule for 17 years.
Mhm.
And it's worked for us. And we have people that have been with us for so long, and we get so many referrals for from other employees of people they know because they're talking about how much they love their position. So HR and employee issues are really the last of my challenges, which is great.
Mhm. That is fantastic. I and I again, my brain is going to like keeping that it's so front and center because I think for a lot of times online business managers, it is we start our business with these values and then we want to go this, but then again, when we take on someone else's business problems, we can let it
Mm,
erode, right? So I think what
mhm.
I'm hearing you say too is how important it is to just keep going back and revisiting that. And sometimes there is a no, but it can be a very powerful no.
It can. And when it is something that is part of your value system, it's an easy, hard no. It's easy
Mhm.
to say no to it because it does not fit with your value system. Even though, there's a part of you like, maybe we should, but it's like, nope, it's this is what we stand for. And is this still what we stand for? And yes, it is. So we're going to stay in this pocket for now. And I just love what we've created for people. And we became a franchise and we're franchising. And my dream is to have pockets all over the nation like this where people and we have men who work for us even more lately, which is fabulous, but we've had mostly women where they get to thrive, have purpose, be the hero, and also balance their family, their own personal life, friends, family, all of that. And so I envision like having pockets all over the nation where people get to work like this.
That I love that. If you come when you guys are down in Austin, Texas, let me know who they are.
Oh my
So
gosh, yes. Yes, we would love that. I have somebody that we're actually talking to in Austin. So,
awesome.
yeah. Yeah.
That is great. One question on this. If an OBM is helping a CEO that wants to have these kind of values in their business,
Yeah.
do you have any suggestions on a way that they can kindly say maybe this is out of alignment for you, right? Like your Tristan did for you.
Yeah, right. I think the best OBM is one that speaks their truth and is objective. And that's the golden eyes of an OBM, right? Coming in is you're not as close to it as they are, the client is. And so you can see those things sometimes clearer than they can. And I know that's why I have coaches and different mentors because something that I might be banging my head against the wall for, I talk to somebody else and they're like, how about this? And I'm like, okay, yep, that'll work. Why didn't I think of that? But, we're too close to it. So
Mhm.
someone that speaks up and sees that and says, let's look at your values and how long have you had these core values and do they need to be revisited? Do they still resonate with you? Because sometimes we have those core values and we don't do much with them. But we have our core values listed on our every meeting notes on the top, and we've made them easier to remember with an acronym. And then we have core value cards that people can pass out to other employees or ops passes out to employees when we see them doing one of the core values. And so different ways to kind of get those core values out and seen. Sometimes they're hidden too much.
Is such an excellent idea. And I love that it even brings it back to what you're saying earlier of recognize it goes back to that gratitude, right? And starting, we do that here in our weekly meetings as we list off the what other people may have been doing well or what,
Yes.
those sort of things. And so I love that.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And all the stuff that I'm talking to you about, some of it is innate in me, and others of it is the people that I've surrounded myself that have given me these ideas, or part of my team members that have brought these elements into our business that we've said, yes, let's do that. That makes sense. And that's like the bottom line, Leah, is that you do not need to be the expert in all areas. And I used to feel like that when I was, in my early 30s. And you just don't need to be. Just be able to set your ego aside and pull together the people that can help you in those areas that you're not good at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's when you have a lot more fulfillment, right? When you can create that space.
Yes. And a
It's
lot less pressure and overwhelm.
Hmm.
you
It's
know?
noisy enough in my head. I don't need to be telling myself I'm the expert in anything.
Exactly. It's very noisy in our heads.
Yes. Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. If anyone, where can people find you?
So, pacificperkscoffee.com is our business website. And then my LinkedIn is Natalie Fairchild. And so feel free to take a look at that. Um, and then the to get her to is also on LinkedIn. And the website is like to-go dash. So I'll give you that one. It's a new
Okay.
one and it's got a lot of hyphens and because unfortunately someone already had the website that we wanted. But yes, I will get that all for you so that you have it. And I love to mentor women and intentional men. So if there's anything I can do to help any of your team members or people listening on the podcast, please reach out and love to do it.
Thank you so much. And we'll make sure all those links are in the show notes for the podcast. Thank you everyone for being here this week, and we will see you next week.
Thanks so much.